All us photographers and videographers know that these tariffs can only stem from corruption. And we know this because let's just say you want to do autofocus, right? You want to do some video with autofocus. What cameras are you going to buy, right? You'll buy a Sony or you'll buy a Canon. That's it, right? If you want to have the most reliable autofocus, those are the two cameras. There are no other cameras. Even in Japan, like the third largest camera maker, like for video, I'd say, would be Panasonic. And would you buy a Panasonic for autofocus? No. They're always 3 to 5 years behind. Even Panasonic, another Japanese camera manufacturer with years and years of experience, can't keep up with Sony and Canon. So if they can't keep up with Sony and Canon, right? If they're basically 3 to 5 years behind Sony and Canon today, and like 15 years behind, like just starting from scratch, say 15 years ago, then how is an American company going to make a camera that can autofocus like in the next 15 years, if ever, right? Anyway, there are no American camera manufacturers or lens manufacturers or light manufacturers or audio equipment as far as nothing is built here. Maybe a couple of things are assembled. The only camera-related companies that operate here build stuff for the Defense Department. So yeah, if you want a $100,000 spy satellite camera, yeah, sure, we make those. But everything else in consumer cameras, in professional cameras, are made in Asia. Fox News, Newsmax, whatever Trump likes to go on, they're all made over there. So putting a tariff on a camera, or even just any electronics really at this point, is not going to bring manufacturing back to the United States. It's just not going to happen. Or maybe it could happen in like 10 to 15 years, but we want to wait that long? I mean, why doesn't the government come out and say, hey, listen, we want to bring manufacturing back. We want to make some cameras. And so, yeah, whatever you have, you just have to make do with it. Because it'll be 15 years before we have something that will compete with what you have today. Even your old Canon TI-1, we're years away from doing this. So I think all us, camera video people, we know the tariffs are only about corruption. They're only a way for, when you have no tariffs, right, or you have limited tariffs, right, each country does what they're good at, and they swap things, right? And so Japan gets our F-35 fighter aircraft, and we get their cameras, and everybody's happy, right? Win-win. But when you start putting in tariffs, putting aside the reason that you might put on tariffs to protect an industry or to help grow an industry. So for instance, there are tariffs right now on aluminum and steel, but they're not there for us, for the United States to become huge steel makers. They're there because we need enough steel makers to make tanks and planes and other defense industry stuff, right? That's basically the reason. So we put tariffs on steel. That keeps our steel industry going because of national interest. But what national interest is there in a camcorder or a video camera, a cinema camera, just a regular camera, right? What national interest do we need for those? So the only reason the tariffs are put there is so that like somebody from Sony now or Canon can come here, meet some politician and say, hey, listen, we want an exemption for this tariff. Like, what do we need to do? And they'll say, oh, you want to donate to our campaign, so they donate to the campaign, and then the tariff disappears, right? They get the exception, right? So it's corruption, right? It's just legalized corruption, which is why the United States has tried to get rid of tariffs a long time ago. Why we have a World Trade Organization, because it's not good. So think about it. The United States has always been like, we're above the third world, bribery thing, right? Like rule of law, like fairness. No, like this is obvious corruption, because there's nothing to be gained by putting a tax on cameras where there's only one place that we could get them, and we have no other alternative. There are no other substitutes. There's no other substitute to a Canon or a Sony or even Panasonic. No substitutes, period. So it's just I think from a terror point of view, it's, yeah, I mean, everybody who's into photography understands that this is just pure corruption. Pure corruption. But it does lead me to one thing, you know, a complaint I have about filmmakers, you know, YouTube. I mean, they're not all of them, but many people, like, we got to get out of, like, you know, do I have the right camera? Do I have the right, you know, color profile and the lens or this or that, and all the gas stuff, which, you know, I can relate to. More of us, we all need to talk about social commentary. We need to talk about these things. Because what's happening, right, is certain people, these corrupt people are like, listen, we only want corrupt people to talk. And so they'll get all the exceptions, you know, they'll get the cameras, right? Just like it was in the Soviet Union where basically, you know, if you knew somebody, you could get good health care, good cameras, whatever, right? It wasn't about the money, it was about access. And that's where this country is going again, access. So do you want to let that happen? I mean, already this shadow banning and soft banning, everybody knows YouTube, there are a lot of things changing on it, right? So you need to speak out with the equipment that you have. Now, you may have to speak up with, you know, a Canon TI-1, you know, for the next 15 years until we can get rid of this corruption. But yeah, I mean, you know, come on, you guys. You know, we all need to. I mean, I do a channel called Max Can't Help It. It's horrible. If you think this channel is horrible, go look at Max Can't Help It. Anyway, that actually is my bigger interest. I mean, I write on Medium too about economics and geopolitics and stuff like that. This camera stuff is only because as a kid I wanted to be a filmmaker. So it's just I don't know why I do it. I just annoy people. But it's just my interest in technology, in filmmaking, in physics, you know, a bunch of stuff. That's why I do this channel. But I just wanted to do a thing to just point out that you already know, is to make that connection that these tariffs, when it comes to electronics, when it comes to Asia, is just, there are no substitutes. There are no substitutes to the cameras, to the lenses, to the audio equipment, to the lighting, to everything. There are no substitutes. I mean, how dumb do you have to be to not understand that, right? I mean, he has trouble understanding about groceries, but I mean, just think of the level of out of touchness to think that you're going to put a tariff on these Asian electronics, right? And it's going to be good for us. How's it going to be good for us? I don't want like some young filmmaker who wants to get into something that all of a sudden can't buy cameras because of these huge tariffs. That's all it's hurting. It's hurting young filmmakers and young photographers. Or they can be old ones with no money. It's just horrible. I mean, that's all it does. It does nothing. And then the money flows into these corrupt, you know, politicians and just makes our life more polarized. Anyway, these tariffs have nothing to do with anything that's rational. It's just corruption. And again, corruption, plain and simple. I'm an independent. To me, the Republicans tell one set of lies, the Democrats tell another, but they're both equally corrupt. So this isn't about that here. It's about just generalized political corruption. And it's getting in the way of us telling stories. And YouTube is getting more sensory-like, you know, there's more shadow banning. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of problems in our country that we need to fix. And you guys with cameras and microphones need to start focusing on that and less on whether you have the right color grade and stuff like that. So anyway, I hope you got something out of this video. Again, it just blows my mind just how out of touch our government is. Like incredibly out of touch. Like they have no idea how electronics work, cameras, audio, anything. Just mind-blowing. Anyway, till next time.